Happy New Year! It is currently New Year's Day, the night of New Year's Day. It's like 8 p.m. But I hope you guys had an amazing holiday season. I haven't seen you since like before Christmas. So I hope you had an amazing holiday season. You got to see a lot of people that you don't normally see and spend time with them. I know that's what I did. A really cool thing about this video for me is I know that I have not featured most of these books on my channel this year. And now I finally get to, and I'm so excited. These are in no particular order. I do not have a top book of 2014. I don't have a favorite to show you, but I have 14 favorites, so here we go. The first two books are books that I actually took out from the library initially, and I fell in love with them, and I don't have physical copies yet, so I actually went back and re-rented them so I can show them to you guys. The first one is Reality Boy by A.S. King. This is the first A.S. King book that I had read. I read Ask the Passengers later on that year and was not particularly enthralled with it as I was with this one. This one was just amazing for me. This one is about Gerald, and he was a very, very angry boy when he was a young age, and because of that, they brought him into a reality TV show where he just did crazy, crazy things. And because of that, he is very well known in his school, and not in a good way. He's picked at constantly, and not just people in his school, like people that he sees at work. Everywhere. People just recognize him, and it just makes him even more furious. He has a rough family life. His family is not particularly great. They're not supportive. They actually want him to go back onto this reality TV show just to make more of a mockery of him. The amount of emotion in this book is so powerful, and the characters are so powerful, and it's the reason that I want to read more A.S. King books. I think this was a phenomenal concept, and the aspect of the reality TV was so enthralling, and also a lot of the other characters had things like one of them was part of a family that's in a circus and all this stuff. Just things that you don't normally read about, so I highly, highly recommend this one if you haven't read any A.S. King books. The second one is The Bear by Claire Cameron, and I would recommend this one to anyone that loves Room by Emma Donoghue. Mainly because Room by Emma Donoghue is in a child's perspective, and so is this one, and some people don't particularly like that. It was so perfect for this story. This is about a family who goes camping, and on the camping trip, a bear attacks. The entire scene of the bear attack was told in this 4-year-old's perspective, and everything happening afterwards. It's just very chilling to read about in a kid's perspective because they don't know exactly what's going on, and sometimes the child thought that this was a game that she was playing, and she just didn't know any better at any point. And when she started to realize things like that she was hungry and she can't actually get food as easily and everything like that, it was just very heartbreaking and one of the scariest books that I have ever read without being a horror novel. It was phenomenal. The next two are going to be graphic novels, and the first one you have heard quite a bit about on my channel. Battling Boy by Paul Pope. This is so beautiful. I flipped onto a random page and this is what I saw, and just the colors are so beautiful, and the story is great too. It's a great, great story, and I really hope that they continue it. It is about this town that had an original hero named Haggard West, and he died, unfortunately. And then this boy, Battling Boy, he is actually from another planet, and he is sent to this planet that Haggard West used to be on to become the new Haggard West. And he's just a boy. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's a great story. It's very fast-paced and so beautiful. The next one is Seconds by Brian Lee O'Malley. Brian Lee O'Malley wrote the Scott Pilgrim series, which I only read volumes 1 through 3, I believe. I personally think that this is much more satisfying, and it is a standalone graphic novel, and oh my god. This is about Katie, and she works in a restaurant, and she basically manages the restaurant without owning it. She really wants to build her own restaurant, and that's all she's wanted to do. That is all she has dreamed about doing. She gets the opportunity to actually wish for certain things when she finds a fairy living in her room, and that's all I'm gonna say. But it's just such a great story, and it's magical without being too magical, and it's realistic, and the character Katie is great and sassy. I really, really enjoyed it, and I also love that this graphic novel is in full color. Really, really enjoyed that. The rest of them are just novels, so here we go. Bridget Jones' Diary by Helen Fielding. This was a real surprise to me. I did not expect to love it so much, but I did. This is really just about Bridget Jones, and she writes diary entries, and that's what you're reading throughout the whole thing, so it's very fast-paced. But she's just really funny. She's just a funny, honest, witty person, and also super, super awkward. And a lot of the things in here are so poignant for people that are growing up. I would totally recommend this to anyone that is in a sort of coming of age age. This also has some slight feminist undertones, but it's not too like in-your-face feminist. Something else that I super enjoy. It's just a great read. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars and was totally surprised. Another book I was totally surprised about was A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. Oh my god. I love this classic so much. It is a children's classic. It is a book where there are 4 kids, but it mainly focuses on Charlie and Meg. It is a dark and stormy night, and basically this woman comes up to their door, and Charlie apparently knows her. Charlie's only about 5 years old, but apparently he met her on the street and started talking to her. Charlie is a highly intelligent 5-year-old. So when he goes out for a walk next, Meg decides to follow him because obviously he's 5 and he's talking to strangers. And they got put on such a journey. And this journey follows them trying to follow their father, who they haven't seen in about a year. He went on a journey for work, and they didn't know when or if he was coming back, and apparently the stranger knows where the father is, and they're going to go find him, and it brings them across the universe, literally. It's such a beautiful, heartwarming book with such a good message. I love it so much. After this one, I read a graphic novel version as well, and it's just such a good story. Perfect on all levels. Another book that is perfect on all levels, Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. You have heard about this book a lot very recently because I very recently read it, but oh my god. Attachments is about Lincoln. He is a technology security officer man. He looks through emails and makes firewalls and stuff. Very boring job for him, and it's like all nights, and he doesn't see anybody ever. But part of his job is to read emails, so he reads emails from Beth and Jennifer, and Beth and Jennifer are just girls in their early 30s, I believe, and they're just having like relationship problems and all that stuff. They're just best friends talking about everything, and he just finds them funny and entertaining, especially Beth, and he becomes emphatically in love with Beth just by reading her emails, which obviously serves as a issue because how are you supposed to be like, hey, I love you, also I read your emails? It's just, her characters are very realistic, and if you haven't read anything by Rainbow Rowell, this is a great first one to read. Sort of Like a Rock Star by Matthew Quick is the most underhyped book of all time because God, it is so good. Amber Appleton lives on a bus, Hello Yellow, with her mother, who is a bus driver. They are just completely broke. Amber Appleton in no means has a good life whatsoever, but she is the most positive person on the face of the planet, and she just helps other people, and she wants to make sure that everybody has an awesome day. She's just the epitome of positivity. And it's really sad seeing all of these horrible things happen to her while she is an extremely positive person. I read it in one sitting. Totally check this out. I believe I got it on Book Outlet for like $1.99. I also read this next book in one sitting in about 2 hours, and that was Sold by Patricia McCormick. This one follows the slave trade in India, and honestly it is not a topic that is touched on enough, and this is a great book to become aware of it. It is about a 13-year-old girl, and her dad sells her basically so they can get money for the family because she has a younger brother and everything, and they need money. So she is sold, and she is thought that she is sold to become a maid, but really she is sold into the slave trade. Super depressing, but makes you very aware of what is going on in the world now and how horrible it is. Very poignant and beautifully written. On a more positive note, we have Mr. Penumbras 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, which is so fantastic. I read it in the beginning of the year, and God, so good. It's basically about Clay, and he is trying to start up his own company online, and it's really hard. It's really hard because he doesn't have a job right now, and the job market is declining very fast, which is extremely relevant. He gets a part-time job at Mr. Penumbras 24-Hour Bookstore, and things start happening. He notices that all the regulars at the bookstore take out these really strange novels. They sort of have codes in them and all this nonsense, and when he asks Mr. Penumbra about it, they just take this huge journey, which is really interesting, and this is just a very well-written book. I totally love it. Wasn't a huge fan of the ending, but this book is so well worth the read, completely. Totally loved it. Getting close to the end here, the next one I got as an art copy from a Goodreads giveaway, so thank you to the Goodreads. This one is Paper Airplanes by Donna Porter, and this was actually released in the UK for a while beforehand, but it just got released in September in the US. It follows two best friends, Renee and Flo, and the different things that happen through their relationship. It's kind of weird because they don't have like a huge fallout or anything like you would expect there to be, because it's just about two best friends. How interesting could it be? Wrong. It follows them actually getting into their relationship and all the conflicts that they have personally that affect that relationship. And I really loved that they had individual conflicts and that it wasn't mainly about the relationship that those two had. It was a very raw story too. It did not dance around anything. It really expressed how problematic these things were that were happening to these. I'm trying really hard not to spoil things, but it's just really raw. It doesn't dance around any problems. And I thought it was phenomenal. I really, really loved Donald Porter's writing. I contacted the publisher, and in the UK, the second book is already out, but it's not going to be out in the US for another year. So fortunately, they gave me a PDF file so I can read the second story, and I am so excited to. This next one blew me away. It was my first serious introduction to feminist writing, but again, it was like a light feminist read. It wasn't over the top feminist. Fear of Flying by Erica Jong. This is a modern classic and it follows Isadora and just a trip that she has. She's unhappy with her relationship and she decides to play around with infidelity. And it's this huge, thrilling new thing to her. And she's just very excited about everything around her. And just seeing her views on things, her feminist views on things, was so interesting. Even when she wasn't doing the right thing, you can see why she was doing it. And this book is just beautifully written and just wonderful. And I ate it up. Like, it's a dense read, but I just ate it up so fast because I couldn't believe how much I was enjoying it. And if there's one book that I can recommend to everybody, it would be Fear of Flying by Erica Jong. I know I said that I didn't have a top favorite book. This one's probably the top favorite though. It was, oh my god, it was so good. We now have The Storied Life of A.J. Thackeray, which did just come out in paperback, so it is very easily accessible. This is written by Gabrielle Zevin, and she is another author that I have been introduced to in 2014 and absolutely adore. This book is obviously about A.J. Thackeray, and his life is just not great right now. He works in a bookstore. Nobody goes to bookstores anymore, really, and his bookstore is on an island, so there's even less sales happening there. And then he also has a very expensive, genuine collected work of Edgar Allan Poe, first edition, that was stolen from him. His wife unfortunately passed away about a year ago. And then he walks up to his bookstore one day and there is a baby on his doorstep. So the story just sort of takes off from there, and it is such a heartwarming book. It's one of those books that's very cozy, and I don't know how else to describe it except for cozy. I love the characters in this. Please pick it up because it's great. The last one is another one where it's just like the characters. So great. I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This is about Jude and Noah, and it follows their lives when they are 13 and also 18? Not really. 13 and 16, maybe. And one twin tells a tale of when they were 13 and the other tells a tale of when they were older. And just the things that change within that time is so intense that they don't even talk to each other by the time that they're older. Jandy Nelson really intertwined this story perfectly. It's just, read it. It's great. I think I'm done talking about how amazing books are, but I highly, 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 highly recommend reading any of these books in 2015 because I can guarantee you it will make your year better. That being said, I hope you guys had an amazing 2014. Please let me know what some of your favorite books of 2014 were, and tell me what you plan on reading in 2015. I'm going to save my answer for that for my next video, which is probably going to be my 2015 resolutions. And I hope you guys have a very good week. And like I said, I hope you're spending time with family and just enjoying life. Bye!